Today's conversation is transporting you to New York. I hate that I just did that. I really wish I could do a cool American accent. I just cannot. So this conversation was recorded in America. It was January last year. I was in the pits of a breakup. And I was having a really rough time putting on a brave face while recording the podcast. So, I loved this conversation and I had every intention of releasing it when we recorded it. But I don't know, I just felt a little bit uncomfortable with where I was at personally, and I worried that that was coming through in the conversation. And it's such a funny thing hosting a podcast where you do only show an element of your personality, and behind closed doors at that time, I was really struggling. And I felt like it was impacting my work and impacting the way that I interviewed people. And recently, our producer, Emily, bless her heart, we love her, she was listening to and kind of looking through the archives, and she brought up this episode along with a couple of others that we are going to now release. And she was just like, these are amazing. These are so interesting and there's so many learnings and these are such good interviews. We need to put them out. And I was just like, really? So I've decided not to listen to the edit. I'm just trusting her judgment. But what I do remember about this conversation was feeling really inspired and excited about the way that different women do business. And I do think in the time that's passed over the last 12 months, we've put out to the community quite a few times, do you want to learn more about business or business finances? And there's been an overwhelmingly positive response to that. So this conversation is exactly that. It is what I originally thought would be called maybe like the Millionaire Muse section or segment or like ongoing thing where we could find incredible women who have made either $1 million portfolios or $1 million businesses and really get inside their brain about how they built the things that they built. And this conversation with Rachel is transparent, it's open. She's built and scaled two very different businesses. And the way that she speaks so candidly about her struggles and transparently about the financials behind the business, I think is really inspiring for a lot of people, whether you are a business owner or you want to be one day, or you're just slightly interested in how things run behind the scenes of a business. This conversation is candid, it's interesting, and she is really, really amazing. So I hope that you enjoy the conversation. And in general, if you like the idea of learning more about how female founders built their businesses, we would really love feedback on this episode. Are you into it? Are you not? We're not offended if you listen and you think, actually, do you know what? I'd rather not learn about businesses and business finances. So no, the entrepreneur stories are not for me. Or maybe this kind of thing is really interesting to you. Please let us know, because we really want to make sure that the content that we're putting out is what you want to hear and that you are learning as much as possible. So without yabbering on too much more, I would like to introduce the amazing Rachel Beider. Rachel, I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you for coming in. And also you just look so well put together. You know, when people come in for interviews and they really show you up, I'm like, I should have made more effort today.
No, girl, I was checking out your sweater and I was like, damn, she's so cool.
Oh, no.
I love it.
I'm really struggling with the New York temperatures. I'm struggling to like dress myself. Like black socks with white sneakers, not a look.
Whatever works. Whatever gets you through it.
Now, the reason we wanted to get you on the podcast, there is a real buzzword at the moment. The idea of being an entrepreneur is like all of a sudden become really common and quite like, I don't know, it sort of feels like it's the new cool thing that people want to be able to say. And I don't know if that's because all of a sudden I'm around more business owners or what that is, but I think there's a misconception of what it means to have your own business. It's been quite like glamorized. Is this always the kind of life that you wanted, or did you stumble into business because you had a great idea?
Yeah, so I mean, initially I had gone to art school. I was working as a photo assistant, which was a very low-paid job. I was working as an intern. I did dog walking. I was a nanny. I was a bartender, kind of the New York hustle of one's early 20s.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, yeah.
Nice.
So post-art school, I was like, oh God, what do I do with my life? I am bartending. I'm not finding work in art. Big shocker there. I decided to embark on a backpacking trip, as one does when you're 21. And
eat, pray, love.
Yeah, exactly.
Off we go.
You know, I'm backpacking. I'm sleeping on all these hostel floors. And I grew up with scoliosis. So all of this travel has wreaked havoc on my body. And I saw this Thai massage class, and it was really inexpensive to do like a tourist course to learn to give Thai massage. And so at the time I was traveling with a boyfriend, and I was like, I really want him to learn to give me a massage.
Genius.
Right.
Let's go to this class and learn how to massage.
Right.
And then all of a sudden,
Right.
hey, do you need to practice on me?
Exactly. And you know, I loved it. When I think about my history, my mom was a professional ballerina. My dad was a businessman. So I feel like I am sort of the culmination of the two of them.
You've done exactly what you were meant to, and you've taken genes from both sides.
Exactly. There you go. So I ended up taking this class, loving it, doing more research. The best school of massage in New York was Swedish Institute in the country. It's like the oldest massage school in the country.
It sounds amazing.
So I applied, got in, moved back to New York City, went to school. And then I really, post school, I was so lost, and I felt like I don't like any of these work situations. I really want to work for myself. So I tried to think of a way that I could, I couldn't afford to rent space at the time because it was like thousands of dollars for one little treatment room. But I found a physical therapy clinic in the neighborhood, and I marched in. I was like 24 years old.
Isn't it amazing how much confidence we had when we were in our early 20s?
Amazing.
As a teenager, I reckon I just thought I was the absolute shit, you know? Like I would have done anything. Now I'm such a little scaredy cat.
It's so different. It's so different. I walked in, and I was the naivete it took to start this business, I will tell you. So I walked in and I said, hey, I noticed PT clinic. Do you have massage here? And they said, no, we used to. We have a treatment room, but nobody's in it. And I immediately was like, I will trade you 3 mornings a week working on your patients. In exchange, let me use the space when you're not using it.
Genius.
Because I couldn't afford, I had time and energy, but I didn't have money. So I'm like, I have to trade something here. They kind of looked at me, and it was May at the time, and they said, you know what, we'll try it for a couple months, and we'll just kind of see how it goes. I think they were very skeptical.
Good on them for being open to it, though, to be honest.
Right? I mean, and I had at the time maybe 10 clients who were like friends of mine, if I'm honest. And by the end of summer, I had 110 clients.
Oh, so you'd absolutely nailed it.
I really looked out for, I tried to identify individuals who see a volume of their own private clients, because for me, getting one-to-one person, it's a lot of effort. But if I can get to one person who sees 10, 20, 30 people, so I started looking at like hairdressers, because they see 50 people a week. They're on their feet. I was trading massage for haircuts and highlights. My hair looked amazing that year. And they would send me, they would get massage, and then they would send me all of their customers.
You are a business owner at heart, like I do think that mentality of just like trying to think about how you can maximize your opportunity with limited resources is so necessary when you start. And I think, like you were just automatically doing all the things without even meaning to.
Well, it took a lot of reading also, because I have no business background whatsoever. So that was an idea I got from a book called Book Yourself Solid. And it was all about, if you're in a services-based business, things that you can do. And so I don't do anything half-assed. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Same. It's quite extreme.
Yeah, it can be.
So it was a conscious decision. It was, I'm not really enjoying my work. How can I create an income for myself?
Yeah.
And how can I start a business without having to put myself in a place that doesn't feel that great for me?
Yeah. I mean, and eventually, I realized I need to stop trading time for space. I need to actually pay for a space. And they weren't interested in that. So I found a space down the street to rent, which at the time I was like, oh my God, it's so terribly expensive. It was one little room. And I was still at the time working at a spa 2 days a week because I was so paranoid about leaving my day job.
I think everyone experiences that.
And I was just
though.
like, I need to, just in case, and I realized every single time I was at the spa, the room was sitting there empty. And I started thinking, what if I hired one person to work the days that I'm at the spa? And so I hired my first person, who was like a girl I went to school with, and said, hey, do you want to try this 2 afternoons a week, see how it goes? And she was doing great. So I had basically doubled my income because I was making income from her working in the space when I was at the spa, and I was working at the spa. And then I realized with one treatment room, if you divide the day in half, you can have a morning shift and an afternoon shift. There's this misconception that if you hire 3 people, you need 3 rooms for them. And it's like, no, you need one room that you all split and you have a schedule. And if you're open 7 days a week with the day split in half, that's 14 shifts in a week. Most people work 3 or 4 shifts. So all of a sudden I realized I could hire quite a few people out of that one little room. And I grew very intentionally, slowly in that one room prior to expanding. So I'm really risk averse, actually, and I'm quite anxious. So I like to make sure my bases are super covered before I move forward with anything. And so that was a nice way to ease out of it.
I really appreciate the honesty there in terms of, again, misconception, but what people probably think is in order to have or start a business, you need to be really ballsy and super confident and very risk tolerant. But you can do it in a way that works for you. And I think it's really cool to hear different ways of approaching it, because obviously when you're reading business books, most of the time it's probably a guy that's written it and it's a particular style and the way that they've approached, so hearing stories like that are really inspiring, particularly I would say for a lot of young women who've done their degree and are thinking about their career or are in their first or second job and aren't particularly fulfilled, starting to look around and figure out how else you could do it. Are there different ways? And I think that's super inspiring. What I would love to do is for you to just have the floor for a second to explain how many staff you have, how many locations you have, if you know your revenue turnover since you started, just some big key business milestones to give context for how big the business has gotten now.
Sure. So we are in 4 locations in Manhattan. There are, I want to say 70-something employees, quite a few front desk, and then the rest are massage, and then there's 4 full-time folks.
Including you, or 5?
Yeah, including me. I have to think about it. I include, because I have another full-time person, but he's at a different company that I own. So it's Canopy is a different project.
Oh shit! I didn't know you had 2 businesses.
I
Not
do.
Prepared.
Yes, no, that's okay.
What's the second business?
Yeah, so Canopy is a play space, an indoor play space for babies and toddlers ages 0 to 4.
Know this. I did know this.
Yeah, it's so random.
It's so cute.
And it looks like the intersection of what happens when a massage therapist makes a play space. It's very relaxing. It's very chill. It's good music. It's,
Sorry, didn't mean to backtrack. We're doing milestones. So we've got around 70 employees, 4 locations. Let's talk about the financials, revenue-wise.
Yeah.
How is it going?
Last year, we did just over $3.8 million in sales.
Holy shit, that gives me goosebumps.
Great.
That's so amazing.
I'm really happy with that.
Isn't that crazy to think about? That's so impressive.
We've recently been seeing about 500, just over 500 clients a week, which is insane to think that there are 2,000 people a month out there that we are physically touching, hopefully emotionally touching, and who are just feeling better and less stressed and happier. I love that.
Oh, huge achievements. And then in terms of, for anyone who hasn't run their own business, obviously I would like to celebrate the wins, but it's not truthful to not acknowledge that business is not all sunshine and rainbows.
Yep.
Can we talk about what some of your biggest challenges have been as a solo entrepreneur?
Certainly.
What would you say have been some really standout moments where either you've thought I think I need to quit, this is too much, you're not seeing the sales that you thought? Have there been a few of those pivotal times that you thought about potentially giving up?
Early in the business, it was right around the time I expanded to my second location, and I was doing everything myself. And I mean everything, answering phones, I was doing the laundry, I was cleaning, I was doing every top to bottom, and I was very I can do it, can do attitude, must do everything. I can handle everything. And it's I was so afraid to delegate. It felt like letting go of a steering wheel. And so I was spread way too thin. I was starting to burn out, and I felt like I was failing all the time, which is a horrible feeling.
What do you mean failing? Explain what you were feeling.
I was trying to do so many things that I wasn't able to give 1,000% of my attention to them. And I don't like doing things half-assed, as I said. So either things weren't getting done in a timely fashion because only I could do them, or I wasn't able to do it to the standard that I would like. So whether it was writing blogs, and again, this is before AI.
How on earth did you do all of those things? I mean, so you were essentially running the business, massaging people, doing all of the kind of sort of housekeeping tasks.
HR, hiring, managing, paying bills, paying checks.
Were you in a relationship at this time? What was your personal life?
In and out. I had a few relationships during that time, but my work came first, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
It was really hard to focus on much else. There were definitely times where we would be at brunch and I would leave to take a call to book an appointment. And, this was prior to having even this was like paper. I'm talking about like paper calendars. We didn't have scheduling software. Things have gotten so much easier now that we can automate more. I remember thinking, gosh, like I cannot keep doing this. Like something's going to give. It's probably me. And I think what happens is rapid growth reveals cracks in the foundation. And the foundation was me. And so, if you imagine if I send 500 people your way tomorrow, what's going to break? It's probably you. And so that's a good way to pressure test what works and what doesn't work. And for me, I needed to be convinced that I needed to hire a second person. And I took this amazing program. This woman, Victoria, runs something called Future Women X. And it's basically a mentorship program where she brings in C-suite women from around the world to work with, beginner stage business folks like me. And at the time I was doing about $1.5 million in sales. It was not, it was nothing to shy away from.
How on earth were you not thinking, I need another person? To think that you have 70 people now and you're doing 4 times or not even 4 times that, but yet at that time it was just you. It's how are you doing that?
Fear, anxiety, stubbornness, this thing of like, it's weak to ask for help, which is bullshit.
God, we're so annoying sometimes,
but just this idea that like, I can do everything myself and that's a strength. And it's like, actually, you shouldn't do everything yourself. So, when I was paired with the C-suite woman, the program had you go around to meet with all these different people. And the job of that C-suite woman was to have your back, ask the questions on your behalf, really like get in there. And what that sort of did was sort of sneakily expose what it feels like to have someone super competent have your back. And I was like, oh, I started to understand here is the benefit to hiring someone. Because also at the time it was like, wait, I'm going to pay out 2/3 of my salary to someone else to do this job? Because again, there's overhead, there was expansion costs. And so the idea was like, I'm making this good salary finally, even though I'm doing everything. It was pretty scary, an idea to pay out a lot of my salary to someone else. But the very moment that I did it, I was able to expand to 2 more locations. I was able to increase the amount of work that we were able to do. And I was able to decrease the amount of work that I was personally doing. And I will never look back. I always need a number 2 person. Like it's economies of scale as well, because the more locations that you have, the bigger it is, the easier it is to manage because there's just so much more help.
I do think that this idea of outsourcing is not a natural inclination potentially for women, and maybe it does come from that sort of scarcity mindset because there was so many, there still is stuff that I do at the Curve that I shouldn't really be doing. And it's a symptom of adding the numbers of, okay, well, like $100 going to this person you think of it in quite literal dollar value opposed to the zoomed out value of what you're getting from like spending to make money, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, or also there's this fallacy of like, well, I can do it faster. And it's like, that might be true, but when do you have time to do it? Like, are you going to get to it faster than someone else you've hired to do? I learned a lot also from Ari Meisel, who he calls himself an overwhelmologist.
Oh, God.
Right?
I feel like I maybe need to listen to that.
He has a podcast. He has a book called The Art of Less Doing. And he talks a lot about delegation. And that also helped me to delegate even further. He has this idea that every year, you and everyone on your team should write down the top things that you're doing for the business and take 70% of them off your plate and pass it down to the next person and teach that person.
Oh my God, but shit, what about the person at the bottom?
Well, automation happens at the bottom. And people shouldn't be doing things that can be automated. So
I love that.
And that way there's forward momentum and growth for everyone on the team rather than stagnation, because every year you're learning to do so much more. And then when you've freed up 70% of your time, you learn more things. You're able to network. You're able to do more with the business. I mean, that allowed me to open a totally different concept to my core business that I've had for 15 years. So like a year ago, we finished construction on Canopy, and I would never have been able to step away from that business if it wasn't running like a well-oiled machine.
That makes so much sense. When it comes to scaling into $1 million business, was it kind of doing more of the same? Was it a strategic like pivot or decision? Or was it just like, did you have, okay, I want to get here and this is how I'm going to do it? Or was it more just like, that kind of gradual build where all of a sudden you're like, yes, we've got there?
I think, honestly, I just needed to get out of my own way. The thing holding me back from getting there was me. Like, I was deathly afraid to raise my rates. I made all the rookie mistakes that one makes when they start their career. Like I didn't charge enough for my hour. I thought it was good at the time, but in retrospect, could have probably started with more. I waited too long to finally raise my rates. When I did, I only raised them a little bit because I was scared. And the funny thing is, when I raised my rates, I got busier. It was like I was running a sale. Every time we've raised our rates, we've gotten busier. I think people perceive that if it's more expensive, it must be better.
I actually agree.
Which,
if I can't afford something, I want it.
It's
interesting.
so
weird.
So we had started in 2008 at $80 an hour. We are now $165 an hour.
It is. It's a confidence thing because it's the price is a direct reflection of what you think it's worth and what you think people are worth, and that can be really confronting.
I mean, and I will say I had a 5-year plan when I got out of school, which was like work for myself the first year, maybe have a private practice by year 3, and maybe have an employee by year 5. I just did it in 6 months.
God, that's so cool.
Well, also there's that thing, Parkinson's law of the task will shrink or expand to fill the time allotted.
Oh yeah, like it's like give something to a busy person and it will get done sort of situation. It's so true.
Yep.
Do you mind talking about, you just spoke about the delegation piece and that massive learning of taking 70% of what your like yearly role is and offloading and teaching it to the person underneath you. What is the sort of servant leadership style? Because I've seen you speak about it online and I'd love to have it explained in like a really simple way so that people who aren't just running businesses that perhaps are working in a business, are managing people, can learn more about it.
Yeah, so maybe this is like a bit punk rock of me, but like I hate the patriarchal, authoritarian, like, I'm going to tell you how to do this and you're going to do it.
Same.
Like, that never really worked for me. I didn't like bosses who behaved that way. And I do think it's like a very male-oriented way of doing business. And when I came across the concept of servant leadership, I immediately was like, oh, this is what makes sense for me. So for me, it means my job at the top is to make sure that everyone under me has every single thing they need to do to thrive in their position, to feel really good about their work, to feel really happy in their job. And so it's a lot of listening from top to bottom. So management who's responsible for their employees, it is their job to serve them, to make sure that they have everything they need to thrive, feel really good, be successful. And maybe that's more support. Maybe that's mentorship.
I love that. So it's essentially, what can I do to make you more efficient, happier, and thrive in your role?
Exactly.
It's so interesting because it's normally the other way around, isn't it?
Exactly. And I find that like a lot of people are with me for a really long time because of that. Some of my full-time folks have been with me 6-7 years. Some of my part-time staff have been with me over 10 years. And so, it works.
Can you explain in a bit more detail? Like, could you give me a couple of examples of how people could implement the style of leadership in perhaps like different businesses or roles?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of having feedback sessions and really getting to like speaking with different parts of your company, having them help you to problem solve by saying, here's a problem I'm tackling. Talk to me about what do you notice? What do you see? What's going on for you? If you could make things 10% better, 20% better, 30%, what would that look like in your job? What would it look like for you to be super, super stoked to come to work? How should we, so for example, we were talking about hiring. It's very challenging to hire enough massage therapists in our industry. There just aren't enough graduating from schools. And it's a great job. So if you want to go to massage school, you should. And
the Swedish one, what's it called?
Swedish Institute.
Yeah.
But it's really hard. So we were trying to figure out like what is the difference of working for us? What makes us really special? So I sat down with, every massage therapist. I was like trying to interview every single person. I didn't quite get to everybody, but I'm still working on it. And talk to them about what makes their job amazing. What do they not like about it? What could we remedy? And sometimes it's just like the smallest things. Like they wanted a nut-free granola in the break room. I can manage that.
Oh,
but
it's like, so cute.
It's the smallest things that like really contribute to happiness. And I try to really, I want them to feel impactful in their own careers. I don't want them to feel like a bystander or that they're not heard. And so listening to your employees, like shutting up and actually listening and asking good questions, and having an open door, being accessible to people, that if they want to vent about something, you're a place that they can vent.
And then you can actually make changes, not just talk about it.
That's right.
Do you think that has contributed to your financial success as a business?
Definitely, without a doubt. I think when you empower people to make decisions, when you treat people like adults, they're much more likely to act as such. So for the front desk, if there is a problem and it costs less than $300 to fix it, I want to let them know, you go ahead, take care of that. Let your manager know after the fact. For management, if there's a problem and it costs, and this has changed over the years, right? Like maybe it was $100 at first. If it's $1,000 or less to take care of it, I don't want to hear about it until our weekly stand-up. What's great about this is it empowers them to make decisions. We can course correct after the fact. Nothing is too crazy or too expensive. And it reduces the volume of noise that our management hears, which reduces the volume of noise that I hear. So I think it's very, very important when you are at the top of a business, you get decision fatigue very easily because you're dealing with so many questions and so many decisions, and big ones, little ones. The water dispenser broke. I don't need to pick out which water dispenser we replace it with. I want someone at the desk to say, hey, I noticed it wasn't heating water. I tried to fix it. Didn't work. I ordered a new one. It'll come tomorrow. And I want to hear about that at the meeting on Monday. I don't need to hear about it in the moment.
The decision fatigue thing's so real. Now, I would like to... Actually, before we move on from this business conversation, I would just like to ask, there is a lot of everything in the world right now. There's a lot of massage places. There's a lot of everything. There's not a lot of what feels like to me, there's not a huge amount of white space, like totally untouched industries, which are like ripe for the picking for a business to start in. Mm-hmm. With that in mind, what kind of thoughts or learnings or advice would you have for people that maybe do want to start businesses that are in competitive industries?
I think it's easier to differentiate yourself because sometimes people are like, well, what makes you unique? And it's really hard for us to answer that question for some reason. I like the framework of, if you stopped offering what you do tomorrow, what would people miss the most about working with you?
Oh,
it's your history. For me, it was growing up with scoliosis. It was growing up with a lot of pain management and understanding really deeply like what chronic pain feels like. And that allowed me to connect really deeply with my clients in the beginning. I love that. I don't know who said this quote, but your mess is your message. It's like when you look back at your experience in your life, all of the things that have happened to you, usually that's the thing that resonates with people and the way that you've overcome them.
Oh.
And so when you're looking at business ideas, I would recommend thinking about your unique strengths, thinking about the thing that you bring to the world that is different from other people, because there is no one in the world just like you. And so mine is really freaking weird, right? Like I'm a massage therapist who opened a play space, but I'm also a mom who went through with my first kid who was born at the beginning of COVID. I didn't leave my house for 2 years. And when I was pregnant with my second baby, I think the play space was perhaps an overreaction to that isolation that I felt the first time. But I took something that was painful from my own history, my own experience, that I knew innately was a challenge for me, and put it out there into the world and discovered this is a challenge for a lot of people. And so it resonates. So I would tap into your history, your experience, and with technology changing so quickly with AI, I mean, there is so much that can be done. I don't know. I use AI every day. I'm fascinated by AI.
It is so fascinating, isn't it? I'd love to move on to personal finances, wealth. We're not going to pretend that starting a business, there is no awareness of your finances, and what I mean by that is, you shouldn't start a business because you're trying to create financial freedom or be a billionaire.
Right.
But the reality is you work incredibly hard. The dream really is to be able to create a lifestyle where you have freedom to spend your time in the way you like, freedom to go to an amazing place that you've always wanted to visit. The idea really is you work hard to get the goodies. That's, the dream for most business owners.
Yeah.
It's also not the reality for a lot of business owners.
Yeah.
However, with press being so successful, you're in a really amazing position. And I would love to ask what it feels like, you're continuing to work. Mm-hmm. I mean, it seems like you're not selling the business anytime soon, but you're in a position where you have that sort of financial freedom, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
What does it feel like to have got there? Has it changed your perspective on how you spend, save, spend your time? Like what does it feel like to have made it is really what I'm trying to
Massively.
ask.
I mean, it's allowed me so much freedom. I love the people I work with. I love the way that I work. I love that I can say I'm going to the Caribbean for a few days and I'll see you in a bit. Like I can travel as I wish. I can work remotely. I spend my summers, we bought a house in Virginia near the Blue Ridge Mountains in Charlottesville. And I spend my summers there with my kids, which is awesome. And the business, I can pop in, on Zoom and check in here and there, but it doesn't require the volume of time that it used to. And I did make huge sacrifices in the beginning. And so to be able to have a really wonderful team who I can depend on, I just feel so held in that. I feel so relieved by that. And financially, certainly, I still very clearly remember the ramen noodle days or the days of going to a restaurant and not getting that side that I really wanted because I needed to save for the main dish. Or I was telling my husband the other day because we were ordering in Indian food. And I was like, this is wealth to me. I can get any dish that I want. I'm not going to get 20 because that's crazy, but I can get any dish that I want and not think about it. And I know that that's such a small thing. And for some women, it's a handbag, or for some, I'm more of an experiences person than an objects person. That said, I did buy a house, which feels really good to me. I have given myself the freedom to have childcare, which has been really impactful because owning 2 companies and also having 2 children can be a lot. And so to have the ability to spend time with my kids and also spend time at my work and have a balance of that has been really lovely, especially postpartum this time. My husband and I took both of our moms to Paris recently on a trip.
Like a team trip with all 4 of you. That is so cute.
Us and the kids too. And we also brought our nanny along. And so at night, the parents, and grandmas could go out to a really nice dinner while nanny was home with the kids sleeping in the hotel.
How incredible.
So, phenomenal to be able to afford to bring help overseas and to be able to take our parents on trips, to be able to donate to the causes that I think are really important has been impactful. I've certainly upgraded some pieces of my wardrobe. I used to do a lot more fast fashion, which I feel terrible about. And now I'm invested in some key pieces from smaller designers who I like, who have a better impact on the world. But yeah, it feels really good.
Oh, your life just does sound quite dreamy, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I would love to ask you if you felt comfortable speaking about you've now got 2 very massive assets in your businesses. You've spoken about having property. When it comes to your personal budgeting, saving, investing.
Yeah.
How do you approach that? And do you draw on how you've done it with your business to do it in your personal life? What is happening in terms of growing wealth outside of business?
Yeah. So what's interesting is I have been a one-woman operation in charge of everything for 15 years, right? But when you enter a relationship, now there is a partner. So it's not just me having say over everything. It's also my husband, his perspective, his knowledge, his wisdom, his advice.
How long have the 2 of you been together?
We have been together 6 years.
So you had built the business up until quite a strong point when you met.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. And he is equally ambitious, passionate, driven, excited, super into spreadsheets. He's a very mathy lawyer guy, right?
Okay.
And he has his own, it balanced me in a way because if you were to look at the portfolio of our careers, mine is very volatile. I go through changes, I go through ups and downs, but I also go through huge spikes. He has a salary. And so it's interesting because having the stability from his career has allowed me to take more risks. And then also having kids has changed things. So prior to having kids, we were able to put away a lot more money. At this point in this junction in our career, we are definitely doing a lot more spending on childcare, on diapers, on daycare, or whether it be private school at some point. I have this motto where if I'm 80 in my rocking chair and I'm looking back at my life, where are there times where I wish I could have thrown money at the problem to make it a little easier on myself? Having children under the age of 5 from my experience now, I would guess that that's that time.
Yeah. Red hot, massive zone of throw money at the problem.
It's not going to be the year. And we agreed on it intentionally. Every year we sit down and we have like a vision board, sort of like,
that is so cute.
We make seriously a vision board that says like, what are our categories that are important to us? Freedom is a big one. And financial freedom is a big one. And so, we make intentional choices of, this is going to be a year where we're not going to put as much into the IRA, or we're not going to put as much into...
What's the IRA, sorry?
It's a retirement account.
Okay.
Or Vanguard, which is majority of our funds are in a Vanguard.
I would love to ask one last question, which I think will be really interesting, particularly for young mothers. How have you become or gotten comfortable with your personal financial decisions around money to focus less on growing now and investing in your family?
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of having your own career, your own company, is that you can decide. And I think there are phases where you're in growth mode, and there are phases where you're plateauing, or there are phases where you can take a back seat and a pause. And because I don't have investors, I have the luxury of saying, this is not going to be a crazy growth year for me. This is going to be a year where I'm spending time with my family, or this is going to be kind of a spendy year. I'm going to do some like bucket milestone things that I won't contribute to my savings this year. And that's okay. Just giving myself a little bit of grace. And like, I think especially when you have young children, giving yourself grace. Those early days, I remember thinking, oh my God, I have to do every little thing. And at some point I was like, you know what? I wouldn't hire someone in that headspace. I'm going to just fire myself for like a few weeks. I'm just going to say, you know what? You're fired from making any decision while you are
Rachel,
still...
don't come to work.
Right? I'm like, now is not the time for that. You don't need to do every little thing always. There will be a season, there will be a time. And for me, when the baby was super little, I'm glad I spent that time with him. And I'm also glad that I didn't give myself as hard of a time about putting things into savings, because money will come. Time will not.
Oh, that hit hard. Money will come, time will not. Finding that balance of enjoying your life, doing the things that you want to do, trying to maximize your pay, but also like kind of just comes down to the classic don't sweat the small stuff. Like you just can do what you can do, but at the end of the day, like happiness really and time with people that you love is always going to be the most valuable asset you have, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time, Rachel. It was so awesome to meet you. If anyone would like to come and get an incredible massage, where can they find you?
We are at pressmodernmassage.com in New York City.
And if anyone has a cute little kid that they would like to come and play at Canopy, where can they find it?
That is thecanopynyc.com.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much. This is great.
Thank you so much for listening to Raising the Curve. These conversations are designed to teach you everything you need to know to be better with your money, from saving to investing to talking with your friends about your salaries, all of that stuff.
And if you like what you heard, we would love if you could please hit subscribe wherever you're listening and leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about the episode.
And it only takes 1 second and it would really make our week, our month, our year.
Yeah.
So please do it. Okay. Love you. Bye.
Okay, quickly, The Curve was created to empower and educate you about investing, but we are not financial advisors.
Our platform exists for educational purposes only, and it doesn't provide personalized investing advice for your individual needs and should not be relied upon to make an investment or financial decision.
And always remember to do your own research before making any investment or financial decision.
We're here for any knowledge and support you need, but the final call is always yours.
And thanks for being here.
You got this.
Yeah, we know you got this.